Good afternoon. I'm breaking news anchor Nick Reagan here with Ali Menegakis, and you are the executive director and founder of South Carolina Criminal Justice Reform. You guys are doing a lot of good work out in the community, working through our justice system, which oftentimes can leave both victims and those going through the system feeling a little bit unsatisfied. Can you talk to me a bit about what it is that you guys do?
Absolutely. So South Carolina for Criminal Justice Reform, SC for CJR, we are a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization, and we're dedicated to eliminating mass incarceration and ensuring fair, just, and humane treatment of the criminally accused.
So that's a mouthful. What does it mean on a practical standpoint?
So essentially what we do at South Carolina for Criminal Justice Reform is educate the public and also educate legislatures on the need for statutory reform when it comes to our criminally accused and the criminal justice system in general. So we put out a lot of awareness campaigns, educational programs, and we also go to the legislature and teach these legislators about why certain things don't work and why there's a need for smart criminal justice reform.
Lots of areas where we could use some improvements here in South Carolina. Can you work through some of the issues that are kind of high up on the list right now that you're trying to get support for from the lawmakers in Columbia?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the big one that is taking place not only in South Carolina but throughout the country is what people are referring to as a backlog in the criminal court docket. Of course, there's backlogs in the civil court docket as well. However, in criminal court, we're not dealing with money, right? We're dealing with liberty. We're dealing with people's lives, not just from defendants, but also victims. So in South Carolina, one of the problems that we have is we do not have a statutory or procedural speedy trial right that has teeth. And when I say teeth, I mean an enumerated time that a case has to be brought to trial. Other states have this. For example, Florida has a statutory speedy trial right. And that means that if you're arrested, there's a certain period of time in which your case has to be brought to trial unless it's dismissed. So one thing that we want to encourage our legislators to draft is a speedy trial rule that has a time period for when things need to be tried. And in our opinion, and what we believe based on other states that have this trial right, is that if we have this enumerated trial right, speedy trial right, then everything else is going to naturally fall into place, including providing discovery, including triaging cases. So the smaller cases, for example, possession of marijuana or lower level charges, are treated as they are, lower level. And the more serious charges like murder, where there's people that have been harmed or killed, are able to be expedited and tried.
Now we've seen, in our system right now, it can take 2, 3, 4 years or more to get through even some basic cases. When that happens, then we're starting to see lots of people staying in the jails longer, which now impacts bond, with folks saying, well, if you can't get to trial, then you shouldn't be behind bars, and then folks get out on bond. And we're seeing law enforcement especially saying we need to keep dangerous criminals behind bars, but then on the other side, the argument being, well, they haven't been found guilty of anything, so they can't stay behind bars. Can you talk a little bit about this complicated bond issue and how you guys are sort of trying to influence or change that system?
Well, first and foremost, we want to make sure that the community is protected and safe. But at the same time, we have to ensure that people are entitled to their rights, right? Because everyone that's arrested is presumed innocent. And a lot of people that are arrested are actually, in fact, innocent, right? So we don't want to be harsh to the extent that people's liberties are compromised. So bond is actually a very archaic form of dealing with the criminal justice process. It's left over from British rule when there weren't a lot of courts going on, right? And so magistrates or judges had to travel from city to city, and to make sure that that individual came back to court, somebody actually had to pay to make sure that they're coming back. In this day and age, we have court regularly, and it should, if the system's working correctly, especially with a speedy trial rule, be run more efficiently. But in fact, it has become this billion-dollar industry that certain parties are profiting off of, and the rights of criminal defendants are being jeopardized.
All right, definitely lots of big issues, big things that you guys are working on. Allie, thank you so much for joining us.